Welcome, everyone, to this deep dive. Today, we're looking into something I think many of us have felt at some point, that sense of being lost. But, not lost, like you can't find your keys or you took a wrong turn.
Exactly. It's that deeper thing, isn't it? That internal state, like the audio we listen to, how it starts.
Yeah.
Sometimes we walk, but we're not really going anywhere.
Yeah.
We laugh, but our hearts stay quiet. We live, but we're not feeling it.
Wow. Those words just hit you, right? That feeling of, well, just going through the motions. Like the outside looks fine, but inside something crucial is missing.
Very messy.
So our aim today is really to, unpack this feeling, get into what it means to be lost in that way, and maybe explore how people find their way back. It was kind of a journey into understanding it all.
And what's really interesting in that first bit of audio is how it defines loss. It's not always confusion, like not knowing what step to take next.
Right.
It's more this internal quietness where you can hear everyone else fine and we can hear them, but your own voice, it's faint, muted almost.
Yeah, like you can't quite hear yourself.
Exactly. And even when you talk, it says there's no real conviction. It feels hollow. So you're busy, you're doing things, but you're actually drifting further away from, well, yourself. It's a weird paradox.
It really is. The narrator digs into that. It's not chaos. It's this strange, eerie stillness inside. You could, do your day, talk to people, but underneath, you're just not really there. You feel disconnected from what you're thinking, what you're feeling, like watching your own life from, I don't know, the sidelines.
And the guest in that audio gives such a powerful example of this. They talked about a time when looking from the outside, everything seemed completely normal.
Okay.
Going to work, seeing friends, the usual routine. But inside, totally adrift, like a stranger in their own body, they said.
Wow, a stranger.
Yeah, couldn't connect with what they wanted, and just the repetition of daily life felt empty. Like there was no real spark, no engagement. It really shows that deep split between the inner and outer self.
It does paint a picture. And then there's this really surprising comparison the narrator makes, using Real Madrid after Ronaldo left.
Ah, yes.
Now, maybe not everyone follows football, but Real Madrid, huge team. Ronaldo, massive player. What's the insight there? What makes that analogy work?
Well, what's so clever about it is how it shows that feeling when something absolutely vital is gone, even if everything else looks the same. The team was still Real Madrid. They still wore the white shirts, played in the same stadium. All the outside stuff was there. But like the narrator said, the soul seemed gone.
The soul.
On the pitch, there wasn't that clear direction anymore. The fans felt uncertain, and suddenly they seemed vulnerable. Teams could sense it.
Exactly. And that just connects so well to how you might feel personally. The framework of your life is still there. The job, the house, friends. But that inner drive, that sense of purpose, it feels like it's just vanished. So you're doing the motions, but without that core thing guiding you, there's this underlying confusion, this vulnerability. You feel lost, even though you're in very familiar territory, like the car's running, but nobody's really steering towards a destination.
Precisely. It makes that abstract internal feeling much more concrete. We can all sort of picture a team losing its star and suddenly losing its way, its confidence.
Yeah, you can see it.
It perfectly mirrors that personal feeling of, okay, the structure's here, but the essential me part feels absent, and that void affects everything. But thankfully, the story doesn't just stay there in that lost place.
Now it shifts.
It moves towards recovery, towards this idea of a remontada.
Right, the comeback. For anyone not familiar, in football, a remontada is pulling off a win from way behind, often quite dramatically.
And this is where it gets hopeful. The guest talks about their own turning point, and it wasn't like some huge dramatic event.
No.
No, it was quiet, internal, described as a long sigh after deep silence. Oh, I like that image. A long sigh.
Yeah, it really lands, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It suggests that first step back isn't always some big action movie moment. It can be just an internal shift, like letting go of the breath you didn't realize you were holding, an acknowledgement.
That fits so well with what the narrator says next about what a real comeback often looks like. We tend to think of, trophies or big public successes.
Right, external stuff.
But the audio suggests it can be much quieter, more personal. Just deciding inside yourself, okay, I'm going to rise again. And maybe that looks like, I don't know, letting yourself cry finally.
Or just whispering, admitting you're struggling.
Yeah, or someone simply saying, hey, you're not alone in this. Those small things can be huge, real catalysts for starting that shift back.
Absolutely. And the guest story really drives this home. For them, the key moment, their first victory, as they called it, was simply admitting, I can't keep living like this. Just saying it. That was the breakthrough.
Wow. So brave, though, to actually voice that. Incredibly brave. And that act of just acknowledging the pain, the dissatisfaction, that was the first, maybe the most vital step towards finding themselves again.
It really underlines that this remontada, this personal comeback, isn't necessarily about, scoring 3 goals in 5 minutes like Madrid sometimes did.
No, not always that dramatic.
Sometimes it's just one word, one step, one moment, like the audio says, where you just choose consciously, okay, I'm going to listen to that quiet inner voice again. Start tuning back into your own feelings, your own needs, even if they've been ignored for ages.
Exactly. Paying attention again.
And then weaving in those actual Madrid comebacks against PSG, that insane turnaround against Man City.
Unbelievable.
And against Chelsea, when it looked totally over. They aren't just cool football stories here. They become these really powerful metaphors. Reminders that even when it feels completely hopeless, when you feel utterly lost, that possibility of coming back, of finding your way again, it's always there. And when the narrator says directly, and you can come back too, right after mentioning those games, it feels so much more powerful.
It does. And the point isn't that you need to stage some epic public drama in your life. It's about recognizing that same human capacity for resilience, for change, for finding strength when you feel you have none, tapping into that same refusal to just give up that fuels those sporting moments, but on your own deeply personal scale.
So really, the core message seems to boil down to this one piece of advice. If you feel lost, try to speak. Even if your voice shakes, even if it's terrifying. Just the act of saying it, I am lost, is framed as that crucial first step out.
It's the starting point.
That vulnerability, breaking the silence inside, that seems to be the key that unlocks the door back.
It ties right back to the guest's I can't live like this moment. You bring it out of the internal darkness, you acknowledge it's real. And that starts the process of dealing with it. That silence, as the audio implies, just isolates you more. Speaking, even a little, breaks that. It creates space for connecting again with yourself and maybe with others too.
And I really liked how the audio wraps up in the outro. It speaks directly to the listener, to you listening now. By just being here, listening to this deep dive, exploring these ideas, it calls you a seeker.
Which is a lovely way to put it.
And it offers this really positive thought. The very fact that you are seeking, that you're engaging with this, well, that's already movement. That's progress on your journey.
That's such a hopeful perspective. It shifts the feeling of being lost from being some kind of dead end or failure to just being a point on a longer path, a path of self-discovery, of growth. The desire to understand and move through it is already a sign of your own resilience. It shows you're already starting to find your way.
And it ends with that really beautiful, simple line. Every breath we take here is a step toward finding our way.
So simple, but profound.
It suggests it's not about getting to some final, fixed, found place. It's about the process, the ongoing act of living, breathing, moving forward, even when you can't see the whole path clearly. Every moment is a step.
It leaves you feeling that finding your way is, well, continuous. It's about staying engaged with life, taking those breaths, stepping forward. Even with uncertainty, it's an ongoing journey.
So as you've listened today, maybe something struck a chord. Maybe you recall the time you felt that quiet lostness, even when everything outside seemed fine. And perhaps, just maybe, you're thinking now, what could that first small step back look like for you? It doesn't have to be huge. Maybe just like we heard, one quiet word to yourself, one tiny step toward something different, one moment where you decide to really listen, truly listen to your own inner voice again.